when you're growing up. The approach to challenge is the third bullet point I wanted to share with you. I'm sure you've heard, I know this has been said in a couple of speeches. I know Mike Leachin is a big fan of this as well. But the character in Chinese for challenge is the same character for opportunity, right? How you write opportunity in Chinese is the same way you write challenge. And approaching challenges as opportunities to learn and grow in your business and in life is the right way to look at it. And you shouldn't back down from challenges and seek out opportunities to get engaged and to grow, both at Grace Kennedy and in your personal life. And for me, that had always been a motto of mine. I was always, a kind of just do it kind of person. Read, study, learn, take advice. But at the end of the day, nobody can walk your path for you, right? You have to just do it. And just understand that in the process of doing it, you're going to learn some very valuable distinctions that will help you to do it better the next time around, right? I mean, you asked Thomas Edison, he would tell you he didn't fail when he was trying to invent the light bulb. He actually just learned 179 ways not to do it right before he did it right. And, the other one is actually very, very relevant. So we're on bullet point number 4 here. The other one is very, very relevant to the third. But don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. Right? And that's one that I sort of made up as I looked at some of the things that I was doing in my life. And, we all set high standards, and we all need to set even higher standards for ourselves constantly. And I know the chairman circulated an article that talks about the importance of setting high standards and getting very, very valuable feedback from your peers and superiors. But this one, I would say, has been a struggle for me. A lot of people who are young and trying to achieve, goals in life beat themselves up a lot, trying to be perfect. And years ago, I realized outstanding is the goal that you should set for your life. Ask your bosses to make sure that you're outstanding on the job, not perfect. Because if you try to be perfect at everything, it's going to be the enemy of progressing, right, in your jobs and in your career. So aim for outstanding, not perfect, right, in business and in life. The fifth one, and then I, certainly will spend most of the time on looking forward to the Q&A. The fifth one is, again, potentially cliche, but I think very, very important if you really absorb it and understand the power of the mind. And that's positive thoughts lead to positive actions, which yield positive results, right? And the power of focus is very, very important. It's very easy for us to get dejected and to watch the news too much and see all of the sad stories and all of the negative stories and all of the things that really, would put you in a sad place, versus recognizing that, just the definition, right, of actions, really start at the core with your thoughts and your focus. An analogy I know a lot of the men can relate to in the room. I'm a huge motorsports fan. I love rally driving. I love Formula One racing, etc. But if you ask anybody who is an excellent rally driver about how to avoid a collision when your car is skidding, and whether you're on dirt or you're on gravel and you see these guys going sideways around the corners and it looks so fancy, they're very deliberately, while the car is sideways, focusing on the path that they want to go, the road that they're going. They're not looking at the cane field or the light post, or the wall that is right beside them that they can hit into if they take their focus off of where they want to go. And that's what differentiates an amateur driver from a professional. The amateur driver in a panic would be focusing on that wall or on the light post or on the cane field that he wants to avoid, but actually not realize that by focusing in that direction, that's actually where you're going to go, right? And that analogy really sunk home to me as somebody who loves driving, as a lot of men in Jamaica do. and really, emphasizes the importance of where your brain focuses, leading to the results in your life that you want. The sixth bullet point I had here, I actually started the speech with, and that is the importance, so I reiterated again, it's that important, of building a personal board of advisors for yourself. And where that is relevant in every single aspect of your life, right? I personally look at my life in a multifaceted approach, on the personal side, on your career side, and have a very distinct criteria for myself as it relates to my contribution and my giving back to the community, right? So I want to really leave an impact and help others less fortunate. And in every single one of those three aspects, I have a board of advisors of 5 to 7 people that have achieved more than I have in those areas, and really seek their counsel and advice as often as possible to guide me in key decisions that that I'm looking to make. And that one actually has paid off, huge dividends. The decision even to go to Harvard, frankly, is one such decision that between my dad and my personal board at the time, which comprised of some of my high school professors and Radley Reed, a very close friend of mine at Campion. That decision was really driven and done by consulting this personal board of advisors. I had a scholarship to go to another school called Stanford University. It was far. It was in California, but they had a much better football program. Right, they had a much better athletic program, and they actually gave me a full scholarship. So it was a very tough decision for me, contemplating my dream of playing in the World Cup. That could help me to keep the dream alive. And ultimately, with their consultation and advice, went to Harvard, and the Harvard network, which includes Mr. Orain, our chairman here, as you know, has been very helpful to AP Capital. So no regrets, about that decision. But there's one again that if I had thought about the smaller picture, and that's just my ability to play higher level football at Stanford because they had a better football program than Harvard did. Harvard isn't necessarily known for its athletics, right? I probably would have made a different decision. So that's a small example of how that one has played out in my life. The seventh point here in my short time that I have with you this morning is, and this one I think resonates a lot to the people in the room that are very career oriented, but it's a distinction I learned from one of our investors. Another one of our investors in our fund is a billionaire investor in the U.S. called Jeffrey Vinnick. He used to run the Magellan Fund at Fidelity. If you guys are familiar with Fidelity Investments, it's one of the largest mutual fund companies in the world. Fidelity, the Magellan Fund, is the largest fund that they manage. So this is hundreds of billions of dollars. He ran that fund for them, then started his own hedge fund and gave me this piece of advice. But you have to remember, investing and having interdependent relationships around you are the only true way to build personal wealth. You cannot save your way to personal wealth, and it's not a good strategy to bet on winning the lotto, right, to create personal wealth. And just think about what you guys all probably know in the room, but between inflation and devaluation and a whole host of other risks, your savings don't grow as fast over time, to really provide a level of personal wealth, 20, 30, 40 years down the line when you're looking to retire. So think about whether it's investing in the business that you work in, whether it's investing in a business that you're going to look to do something entrepreneurial with, and make sure that you have that team of interdependent people around you, because there are advisors that you have, whether it be at First Global or other places that can give you good advice on your money and on how to invest your money. But find that team of people that you can have an interdependent relationship with, and make sure that investing for the long term is the mindset that you have to really create, significant personal wealth. So in the last minute or so, I wanted to share with you a couple resources that I've found to be very, very helpful. And again, I can email all of this to the chairman and he can disseminate it. But if you're writing it down, in keeping with the last bullet point I just shared with you, I'm a very, very big fan of Warren Buffett. Any book that you find on Berkshire Hathaway or on Warren Buffett is something you should read and reread. There's one actually called Buffettology, and there's one, the first one I ever read when I was 12 on Warren Buffett is called The Making of an American Capitalist. And it tells you about his stories from his childhood days when he used to run a paper delivery route and make a 2-cent margin on the cost of the paper and the newspaper versus the cost that he was giving it to his clients. And it's a very, very interesting read, but Warren Buffett is probably the greatest investor ever. And so if you're thinking and serious about personal wealth and wealth creation, that's a good place to start. There's a book by Stephen Covey that I've found very, very valuable, and I give away about 30 copies of it a year, called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that is a very, very, very good book. And there's a habit in there that personally resonates with me a lot, and it's called beginning with the end in mind, right? And said another way, if you don't know where you're going, then any path is going to take you there, right? Even bad ones. There's for a lot of the people that really look to live life on a different level, both personally and in your careers. There's a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, and a lot of it is really talking about the psychology of people who perform at a peak level. So getting in the minds of people like President Obama, Usain Bolt. What is it about these people? How do they think that gives them uncommon results? And that's kind of what that book is about. It's about really thinking about, and everything from the words that you think about in your brain. Do you think about the word can't, or do you think about a more positive variation? Do you think negatively? Do you think positively to lead to some of the results that you want? And last but not least, there's an excellent book for business managers in the room called Execution. It's written by Larry Bossidy, a guy who was a very senior executive with General Electric. And the summary of it really is talking about how important it is to have the right people around you in the organization, and how important the right culture and the right people within the organization are for the organization to succeed. But that's also been a very good book as we look to manage our 6,000 employees. Obviously, we have CEOs that report up into us that manage most of that for us. And we do a lot of it on the board level, but it's certainly been a book I've found very helpful, as I sit on various boards. And with that, I'm going to wrap up here. I could spend a lot more time here with you, sharing with you a lot more things I'm passionate about, but very, very, very excited to take questions and go to the Q&A section.